So I was looking at an article. It was a something about Obama's speech about black women holding it down, and I'm not trying to make a anti-black woman bashing video. Let me make a disclaimer. I appreciate black women who have a good sense, not being stereotypical, um, not ratchet, going to school, uh, doing what they should, da 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 da. You know, I appreciate black women who, you know, who are staying away from bullshit. Let me just, let me over summarize it to that. Um, but especially black women who don't describe to matriarchy. That's a plus. What I wanted to say was that, Obama made some speech. I didn't really listen to the speech. I just saw the article, and he was congratulating black women on uh, their their warrior status, their fighting heart for their rights, for for example the suffrage movement and the feminist movement. And he pulled a Gloria Steinem. And what I mean by that was that a couple months ago, Gloria Steinem and Bell Hooks, they reunited, and I mean not Bell Hooks, Gloria Steinem wanted to thank black women for their feminism, and she was kind of saying that, well, she was saying that black women have taught her or inspired her to be a feminist, which was a crock of bullshit. That was bullshit. And the thing was that pissed me off about Obama is that it's funny how he can talk about how much he loves black women and how black women are doing a kick-ass job of raising their kids. Um, the funny thing about that is that he talks so much and so highly of black women, but yet even though he is married to a black woman, you know, does he even know what it's like to be raised by one? That's my question. You give it all these props, and you're looking at your wife and you think that, okay, she's doing a good job, and I'm gonna guess that she's doing a good job. But the thing is that it's funny how you constantly talk about how great black women are raising their children, yet you never was raised by one. You was raised exclusively by white people, and you know you did your best to kind of stay away from black folks as long as you could. So I find that just kind of funny. But the thing was that really kind of irked me was that black women were not even really a part of the women's suffrage. Maybe there were, I'm surely there were black women who, were in those white circles, and like I said, white circles. This wasn't something that, uh, there was no black leader from the suffrage movement. There was none for women. Those white women were not trying to have some kind of camaraderie with other races of women, especially with black women. So, who are these archetype, black feminists who were leading the suffrage movement? I never heard of them, and I've taken plenty of women's studies courses. Uh, I've you know I've read a couple good, I mean not a couple, a good bit of Huffington Post articles about the women's movement, black feminism. I read articles from the Fort Harriet, Hello Beautiful, and all that other shit. And they never brought up anything about black women in the women's suffrage. And the other thing is that black women were not even in the 60s feminist movement. There were, yes, there were, and this is when black women started describing to white feminism. The thing is that black women were not really in the main forefront. You know, like I said before, there was uh, I guess a protest or a boycott or whatever, and white feminists use black feminists or black women to promote their agenda, and their agenda was that the airline companies, um, most of the stewards were white men, and white feminists were fighting for, oh, women need to get those jobs too. And so they've done a lot of boycott and protesting along with black women. And the funny thing about it was that when you look at the videos of all the women who were hired by the airline companies, all those women were white. Now, it was really funny, and it was really kind of insulting when I saw this feminist documentary of all these black women marching and, you know, marching and yelling, talking about you need to hire women for the airlines. And the company didn't even hire black women. And you can't even bullshit to me that, oh, white feminists didn't see that coming, or they didn't notice all those white women. So, I just found that kind of funny. And, like Tariq Nasheed said before, when he used to debate black feminists all the time last year, is that, a lot of those black feminists marched and protested over things that were already won. And so they were just really out there for nothing. Um, so, and the thing is, a lot of these black feminists, even today, mostly fight for sexual liberation, which is really, you know, is really a pointless battle. They're just, they'll throw in semantics like they're fighting for rape victims and they're fighting for anti-slut shaming and stuff like that and abortion rights and stuff like that. But, you know, basically it all comes down to sexual rights, reproductive rights and sexual behaviors. So, they're not really, white feminists really aren't caring about, sexual stuff. They're not really caring about sexuality. Most of the times when you see a white feminist, they're not really talking about sex, especially if they're old. Like they're older, like in their 30s. They're not. A lot of them aren't really worrying about sexual stuff. Usually nowadays, feminists are, talking about money. They're talking about, with a lot of white feminists, they're talking about um, childless women, and so they're trying to make a movement of women who don't want to be married. Well, some do want to get married, but I meant to say women who don't want children. And they're talking about how much money you can make when you don't have children and all the benefits and this, that, and the third. White feminists usually talk about other issues, but the thing is that what's the point? What's the point of this sexual liberation? You know, it's not really going to do anything. And this is the thing. And I was reading another article about with Amber Rose, and this was an article from the For Harriet page, and it was a kind of, this seemed kind of like an older black feminist point of view of Amber Rose's slut walk, and a lot of older black feminists are frowning down on Amber Rose and a lot of her supporters because they're just simply fighting for sexual rights. It's really intangible shit. Like what do you expect men to do? And that's kind of like the stupid thing about it is that, okay, she walks around with bitch, hoe, gold digger written all over her body and stuff like that. And the thing is that what statement is it really making? There's no realistic power or symbolism into it. You're just playing into a stereotype and nothing's really done. You didn't really create or change anything. And a lot of these older black feminists are looking at these younger black feminists as like, why are you wasting so much time? Like, there has to be respectability. You know, you know, Amber Rose, she's not respectable. And at least when I look at other black feminists like Bell Hooks or Jamila Lemieux, I don't like them, but at least they're respectable. And just looking at how crazy and bad and out of control black feminism is that when you look at these women, these women supporting Amber Rose, and it's like, what are you fighting for? This is intangible bullshit. This is stuff that literally makes no sense. It's pointless. You can't change anybody's views like that. Okay, you walk around millions of women topless saying, it's our right to be as sexual free as we want to, but then again, at the end of the day, what does it prove? How are men going to look at you differently, or the world, I should say? And the thing is that black women, these young black feminists, their movement's dying. It's looking silly. There was a point that I want to make, but I'm just scratching my head. Like, what was it? I think let me think. What was I trying to say? Like with like the funny thing about this so-called slut walk and all these women trying to stop slut shaming is that, why is sex so important to you when, and most of these women are straight, so they're dealing with men. My thing is that there isn't a lot of so-called feminist men. And so I'm wondering, what's the point of fighting for this sexual liberation when you claim that there's a patriarchy. You claim there's all these men who are sexist and they don't view women right. So if this is true, what's the point of fighting for your sexual liberation when these men only view you as whores and you're playing into their stereotype? The thing is that it doesn't change anything, because you can march around, say that you're not a whore, all this and that, and you will sleep with the same guys who will call you a whore, and then, what does it prove? It proves nothing. And this is why black feminism, and this is why white feminists don't like black feminists, because they fight for things that don't matter, and they're easily used, easily manipulated. They're a dead asset. you know they're not fighting for tangible shit. At least with white feminists, they're fighting for tangible shit. Black feminists, they're just fighting for a higher whore status, and then they're gonna act like, well, they're acting like they're not having enough sex. And the thing is that you can easily find it. What's the point of fighting for this sexual liberation where all these men in your eyes are so-called bad, evil, and this and that? What's the point? But you can kind of see that a lot of issues nowadays is just, a lot of the things we fight for is just intangible. There's no point. There's no point. I think we just kind of looking for a simple way to lose entirely. And Obama wants to act like black women are doing the black community a favor. No, they're not. They're not doing us a favor. They're fighting for issues that don't matter, that don't really have any weight. Black women are still making poor decisions sexually and everything, economically, and we want to ignore it and just kind of hold our nose up and just say that, oh, black women are struggling unfairly. Well, if they stop worrying about sexual liberation and all this sexual shit and worry about shit that matters and that is tangible, we wouldn't have half the issues we have. But, it's hot. I'm tired. I'm just calling it a day.